Hey, everybody.
Recording in progress.
Oh, hold on. Let me get rid of that real quick. Got it. Recording in progress. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We have an interesting conversation going on today. My name is Eric Hecker with Deciphering My Experience, and we're joined today by Tony Rodrigues and also Natalie. I don't want to give out her last name because I don't know how public she is. But Natalie and Tony have been working with a remote viewers group over on Tony's side for quite a bit, I believe. And back in June, Natalie contacted me because she had stated that Tony's group had made, I guess, a target, an inquiry of the remote viewing group, and they were, I guess, trying to look for other assistance in disclosure, I guess was a way of putting it. I'll let Natalie get to that herself and she can explain. But in this process of them, trying to reach out and use other energies to maybe get assistance, Natalie had a dream afterwards. And in that dream, there was a connection between her and I and Tony's group. So I just thought, we should share this with the world. It was pretty interesting. Tony's a very busy guy. We all have things going on. Trying to get 3 people together at once is very challenging. But here we are to discuss this event that happened back in June, but is certainly worthy of a conversation. So I want to welcome, first and foremost, Natalie. How you doing today, Natalie?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am having a blast. And then Tony, before we let you get too crazy over there, how you doing today, Tony?
I'm good. I can't complain. I've been very productive. Things have been really lining up for me lately. It's been going good.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us because this, I think, is going to be an intense topic for folks. And your group is doing great work. So thank you for giving us your energy. But back to you, Natalie. So back in June, explain to us, paint the picture from your perspective. What was going on back in June with the remote viewing group? How many people are in it at the time? I'm curious. I'm very interested because how many people's energies were involved in this at the time? Do you imagine?
It's not a huge group, but it's getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe 25, maybe. That's a lot.
It's a lot of intention, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's some great people in the group that have very skilled,
At the time that this occurred in June, about how long would you say that you were working with the group?
Oh, I've been with them since the beginning.
And about how long is that?
Oh gosh. Tony? 6 months, a year?
We started in January of 22, January 1st, or January 11th of 22. So it was like 1/1/22. That's my first entry in here I was talking about making the group for a long time before that because we kept unpacking the technique. Mm-hmm. And every time somebody would come on and I'd say, that's just like what I remember from what I went through. Mm-hmm. And I found these documents here and I found this other stuff. And then Jackie was the co-host and she's like, no, that's exactly what I remember, but you got to add this. And we had all these parts to assemble for not only remote viewing or kind of astral work, but like manifestation, like going into a higher focus state and then changing the future in your favor. Like, the same way that you would go to the gym and try to get in better shape. But this is like on a spiritual level, on an astral level going into. So we got it together and we kept saying, I need to get a group because it worked because the military did this in the 80s, 70s and 80s. We all know about Stargate program and everything. And the military did it. And where they left off right before they shut it down was they were getting many people on the same target. So they were having people do remote views singularly. Individually, they were having people remote view. Mm-hmm. And then they said, well, we'll get 3 people that don't know each other and they'll remote view and we can compare their notes. And then they got into the higher focus states where they were going and affecting people's health. So they had soldiers in the hospital, and they would go in remote or go into a focus state and mean for the soldier to heal, and then the doctor would check them the next day, and they had data. So what they found was that they could really affect when they had a group of people on the same exact target, going out as a flock, they say, as some people say. So I thought, man, that'd be a great idea, and we need to do this. And we got the group together, and lo and behold, not every single target, but many targets that we've done have had stellar, absolutely just mind-blowing results. It works. The technique works, basically. So tier 3, because of the nature of it, and I want people to be able to speak freely about things that are, you don't share at the Thanksgiving table with your normie family, your normie friends. So I keep the group kind of small. I think it's capped around 25 or 28 people. That's a max. So there's a waiting list to get in, because I don't want people to come in and disrupt it and then leave, and come in and see what we do and then turn around and leave and then go, journey. And I don't constantly, with the door of new people coming in, you're not comfortable sharing exactly what you experienced. So that's the nature of the group. And I started out as kind of just something that we wanted to try, and it really took off, and it's successful. The efforts, it works. The technique works. And I'm trying to figure out a way to either package it for people. Jackie we want to sell it. Obviously there's a value there, but I'm trying to figure out a way to package it for people from start to finish, so that somebody that knows nothing about it can go through the quick system and then learn the technique, because you don't need a group of people when you use this going higher focus state with an intention to go in. Once you do this technique, it's very effective. So that's my 2 cents. I'll let you guys keep unpacking.
I think it's fantastic, and I think this is just as simple as we need to start thinking of ourselves like musical instruments, and we need to respect the value of being a master musician, right? To be able to, strum your own chords, so to say. And yes, there is value to being powerful at that, but I do believe that we can never take away from the value of many instruments being played in unison. There's a big deal to that. There's something about that, our humanity, our voices, our frequencies, our energies. Yes, we need to know thyself and build up our own energies, but more so than that, we need to never forget that when even as individuals we are low, we can always win just by going arm in arm and connecting with each other. That's our secret power. Is that it doesn't really matter Absolutely. How low we get as individuals. Once we connect our frequencies and harmonies, we're unstoppable. And that's what they're always working against, is to cause that division.
Absolutely. I agree. Wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the meditation we did was reaching out to higher density beings for help with disclosure, real disclosure, like something that matters. And more of the truth. And it was a really powerful meditation. Since we were looking out to ETs, the only ones that I had some that I had a really positive experience with they told me they were my avian aides. Birds have always been important to me. And so I put my request out to them. I was familiar with that energy, and I felt comfortable with that. And so I ended up having this dream that was really vivid, really real. I have dreams, and then I have real dreams that have a much bigger impact, like a message. And in this dream, I found myself in the middle of the night walking through a strange neighborhood with a strange group of people. We were being led by the only person that was familiar, which was a dark-haired guy, and I couldn't quite place him, but I felt like I knew him. And he was leading us somewhere. He said, I've got to do some stuff, but you can wait here at my mom's house. And you'll be safe here. And I'll be back. soon. So I was like, okay, this is what we're doing, you know? And so we're in this guy's house, her mom's house, and she was there, but she was in another room. She never really mingled with us. And we're just waiting around in this house. And so I'm looking at, you know, everything around in the house. And I found her desk. And on her desk, she had a bunch of stationery and this beautiful stationery card that seemed special. It was specially embossed and real fine detail, cut work. And the main motif of it was birds. You know, it was beautiful. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. And then I got real self-conscious and I was like, what am I doing? It's the middle of the night. I'm with these strangers in a strange house looking through this lady's desk, you know, and I thought, you know what? I got to go outside and get some air. So I went out on the front porch and I sat down and I thought, I got to get my bearings. And I looked to the neighbor's house and all their lights are on. And 4 people walked out, 4 guys walked out and down the sidewalk to the street. And they seemed like they were in a real hurry. And I thought, oh my gosh, they must be having a costume party. Because of the way these guys were dressed, it just wasn't, it was crazy. And I thought, well, okay, they're having a party. And then I got to looking a little closer and I thought, oh no, those aren't costumes. And they're all bald. And, you know, ticking off all these things in my head saying, okay, don't panic. I was like, this is scary. It's starting to get scary. And so I told myself, don't panic. It's just a dream. Just calm down. And then I happened to glance up at the sky, and there were all these ships just coming in real fast and bright flashes of light. And there were all kinds of different craft in the sky. And there was a huge, I don't know, moon or planet, like right behind them. I mean, it was huge. And I pointed and I said, oh my God, look at that. And then I got self-conscious again and was like, oh no, do these people know I'm an abductee? And then there was one other part. I thought that's when I woke up, but I did remember another part, is that we are standing in the street looking up at the ships. And there's one ship in particular, and it was orange lighted rings. And it looked like 6 on each side, but it might have been 4, kind of in a V shape. And one by one, they would go out, like disappear. And it was orbiting this moon or planet that was so big in the sky. And every time one would disappear, and I heard the guy that had led us there cheering. We were all cheering as each one would disappear. And then that was the end of the dream. Well, that morning, woke up and it was in the afternoon and I was just checking my email and I saw that I had a notification from you. And it was when you posted that picture of, it was a fresco. And it was the exact card. I mean, It was the card from my dream. And it was incredible. And it was Sustenimus. Wow, I've been pronouncing it wrong.
It's all good. I could be pronouncing it wrong too. I mean, my Latin's rusty.
Yeah, so I looked it up. I was like, hey, you know, there's something here. And it was, we support the effort. That's the definition I got, and it was a Latin word. And I was like, now that's incredible. Yes. And I was like, I got to tell Eric, I got to.
Yeah, I thought that was
cool.
Amazingly profound that the bird images and even the arrangement were identical. It was really off the wall, and we'll send those images to Tony, and maybe we'll be able to get them out to the audience. But we don't have them available today because we're not, technological wizards, unfortunately. But these are things that Natalie and I have shared behind the scenes through emails and on on Facebook. I posted the image, and that's where Natalie came across it. So these things do happen, and as odd as it might seem sometimes, these are the energies of intention that we can all wield. We can ask the cosmos of things, and manifest will occur. I mean, this is exactly how reality does work. This is what they were learning in the remote viewing programs that the alphabet agencies were dealing with back in the day. They weren't able to explain why. They didn't really care. They just wanted to function the reality that they were observing. Hey, if we can make a request of reality and reality can present it to us, let's start playing with that. They didn't start worried about the physics of it. They didn't really care why. They just wanted outcomes. And that's why I love that you guys are doing this with your group, Tony, because I in so many ways, I feel like as a child, we were abused, traumatized, but we were also trained. We were trained in very powerful things. And that is a double-edged sword for the people that oppose us. It really is that simple, is that a lot of the people that oppose us actually don't have the skill sets. It's also that simple.
I think that there's a natural phenomenon on how we manipulate our future. You plan consciously during your day, and not everybody has a plan. I always look at the ideal model are teenagers, because these are people that are about to leave the home, or they need to get ready to leave the home, or they need to have a plan. Like, that's the point in your life at the end of your teen years that you really need to start making your own life. And so this is the model. And these kids, us, everybody basically in the first world system is trained to not make your plans correctly, or to make your plan, or to give up your thinking and buy into an existing plan, which is college. And then they kind of tell you where to go. So they really train you not to think along any kind of terms of manipulating your reality. So some people are just naturally gifted at it and do it well. But most people are just unaware that they have a lot of ability, and it doesn't really, that we do a lot of work in a subconscious level, on a subconscious level, that we do a lot of work with each other subconsciously. And there's actually, so digging up through my testimony from the Inyokern days and the Project Grow Flame, the data that I found really showed that the science behind it. So, and I've covered all this on the show. We covered it. And it's starting to really gain speed, like on TikTok. You're seeing like very viral TikToks sort of talking about manifestation. But there's so much more to it than that, because you're accessing outside of time space. So there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit of different versions of it. Remote viewing is one thing, healing, hurting, other targets, and then manifesting, I guess, where your life is going. If you do nothing about your life, you are going to meet with a destiny. If you do absolutely nothing. If you maintain your life and take great care in it, you are also going to meet with a destiny. So the roads are two different ways on how you guide it. And then sometimes you don't have a choice. But there's a third component, and that's when it's on your mind, it's also in your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is really doing the bulk of its work while you're sleeping. That's what the science from the Stalking the Wild Pendulum, it's based on that. And that's what this group is based on. And so you guys let me get this right. So let's back this up a little. You guys had an overlap between you. So she had this vivid dream. And it's funny because I have the date of the meeting, like the date. So everybody goes and we do our target and we kind of ask them, what is feedback from each member? And I'm looking at her entry from that meeting, which was June 22nd, 2022, which is another neat number.
Right, it's solstice.
Sustaneous. Sustainous. I'm looking at it in two different times. You know, I wrote it down, and I still can't really pronounce it. Sustainous. Like she said it back then, and we sustained the effort is what she wrote down. This was back then in June. So that's what you got back. And the entire group, the group message, the target for that day, we were saying that disclosure is being met with resistance from people. So people want disclosure. You know, right now, I would imagine a lot of people watching this are like, yes, we want disclosure. Yes, I want to know what's going on in space. And you can tell that they're hiding it from us. So people want that. There are also people that are hiding it, and ETs, I believe, that are hiding it from us. So our group target was everybody to meditate and be on the same page that we need ETs to help us, that we are people that we're ready for disclosure as a species. We're ready for it. It should have happened long ago. But we need help because people that have stolen the power from structure, you know, stolen the mechanisms of power away from the people, unjustly and unlawfully, have kind of stonewalled us. So we asked for help for ETs. There's got to be ETs out there that'll help us. So that's our target for this week, and that's what we were doing at that time when she had this vision. And you got an overlap, Eric. So tell me about you. I'm curious about what happened there.
I think you guys nailed the target. I can only be honest and tell you that I keep getting hit by remote viewing teams as of late. You guys are the first. I posted something on my website recently. There was another remote viewing team that targeted the source of Havana syndrome. And their team was describing the South Pole Station and the Ice Cube neutrino detector. I know that because I've been there. They don't know that. I get that. But their description was dead nuts on. So I think this power, I respect it. I mean, this is the world that I live in. I think there are greater energies than what the 5D world presents. I was very happy that Natalie reached out to me because I feel it's very challenging for me to get a truth out there. I have an experience that, you know, people have yet to be able to discount, but they sure ignore it. So I do believe that I am working with a team or teams backed by whomever. I don't know precisely, but what I'm learning as I decipher my experience is I am absolutely supposed to be moving forwards and wildly boldly, because I do believe I'm on the winning team. So I don't care anymore. There is a mission here. There is a humanity to save, and there is an onslaught of misinformation and disinformation. And I have no problem kicking people in the shins that are liars. I have discernment. I have an experience that provides me a broadsword of discernment. I understand not everybody is so armed. But I guess that's why I have to be on point, because not everybody knows who's lying about Antarctica. It's easy for me to know that. And I think we're starting to see in the community that there's been a bunch of pawns lined up by multiple factions, that the average player can't have the discernment to distinguish the misinformation and disinformation. But that's the role that I'm here for. I really want to be on point for folks. I would like people to pay more attention to the information that I have presented already and that I'm coming out with, because it's for the benefit of humanity. I'm not playing games. I'm not like, a bowl of, peaches and cream. I apologize. A lot of these folks are in these programs are traumatized. I'm one of these folks. I'm not, I didn't live a great life. I wasn't treated fantastically. I apologize. Spent a year at the South Pole Station, which included a winter, which is the harshest conditions on this planet, because I'm a thick-skinned prick. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. So this is the mission, is that somebody's got to step up and take the punches. And I'm happy to do that. I've been doing it for close to 3 years, so I'm so happy that Natalie noticed.
I think you're doing great work. I'm shocked at the pushback you seem to be getting. I've seen it.
Yeah, I've actually been
nuts.
getting amazing blowback, and I've spoken to Tony about this before. We've had the benefit of meeting a couple of times face to face, and the conversation has a couple of times turned to dissipators. And I have my truth, basically, I try to explain to folks, it's like I'm sitting here on the shores with my truth, and I have to try to figure out how to navigate the seas of misinformation and disinformation to try to get my truth across the seas to the, where the people are at. And there's rough seas, there's not a lot of help out there. But I'm still at it. My ship isn't sunk, and I'm going to keep fighting this battle because I have to get over there because everybody needs to know the truth. This Corey Good debacle as of late has really, it's the tip of the iceberg for everybody to start to understand disinformation, misinformation. COINTELPRO is basically the biggest word that people should start figuring out now, is to understand that there are multiple factions that love investing in both sides of the conversation. They're doing it just strictly to cause confusion. Most of the players that we see out there, and I'm going to repeat that, most of the players that we see out there are not genuine. And it's up to the people to figure it out. It really is. I mean, all I can do is put my truth out there and say, challenge my truth, but challenge everybody else's equally as hard. If you're going to ignore what I'm saying, then ignore what you're saying everybody else is saying. But if you're going to give them credence, you better give me equal credence too.
What I've found, obviously from knowing things from behind the scenes, what I found is that if it sounds, this is holding to be true with whistleblowers currently. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. There are people that are promising, the world, everything's going to be fine. Everybody's going to get $10 million and you're going to get life forever in the med beds. And it's all they're just going to drop down and give it to us all. And we're going to ascend and have superpowers and everything. And to me, that sounds too good to be true. And it usually is. So that's the other thing, is the people that are making promises like that turn out to be doing unscrupulous things behind the scenes that everybody's aware of except for the audience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's been going on lately. So
1,000%, Tony. You nailed it. That's the problem, is that those people are fleecing audiences with misinformation and disinformation. I'm not charging anybody a nickel, and I'm just providing documented proof, and it goes against what they're saying. So it's
yeah.
I'm the opposite of what they're saying. The high frequency, everything's going to be great. Someone else is going to save you. I'm the opposite of that. I'm basically saying, no, you're screwed. You're already on the losing end of a battle. And if you don't figure that out and do something, then your great grandkids will also be screwed. So I'm just challenging people to step up to a harsh reality. I apologize. It's not my fault. I didn't make the world the way that it is. I'm just observing it and sharing what I've learned. And it's not good news right now. It'd be like back in World War II, if like we were in Germany, I was like, hey, I think we're the bad guys. I think there's concentration camps in our country. I think we're doing bad things. And that's just the state of the union right now. There's bad stuff going on this planet. There's technologies that are extremely terrible, that are way beyond people's comprehension. Nobody likes to think about the idea of mind control, or just inserted thoughts. Tony, did you know that this was a few months ago? There's a news article. This is mainstream media, right? The McDonald's Corporation is looking to invest money into research and development to be able to pump their commercials into your brain when you're sleeping.
No kidding.
Correct.
Wow.
So, come on, folks. If McDonald's is talking about having the possibility of doing this now, how long has DARPA been doing it? How long have other nation states had this technology and been using it as an untoward weapon against other nations' populaces? What do we do when we consider that at the least the last 2 decades, we have to consider that all of our dreams were intruded by multiple factions because the technology existed? So what are we going to presume? That it existed and no one was using it?
So recently I've been recommending to everybody in the group and on the show Faraday fabrics. and I did get a Faraday blanket that I sleep under, and the entire complexion, my entire sleep habit, the experience of dreaming, all of it completely changed for the better. And I won't sleep without it. When days that I sleep without it, I wake up feeling tired and confused, like groggy. It's a terrible thing. And all it does is block out the Wi-Fi and the EMF. And this is the reason that led me to it was the program in the first place. Like back in the 80s, when I was doing the intuitive work on shipments in Peru, the first time that I did it work, they sent down a silver mesh blanket, an EMF blanket, and wrapped me up in it. And so I thought, man, I saw it for sale. I met a guy at a conference that had access, and I said, give me the website for it. And I bought it and tried it. And it does have results, and I recommend it. And a lot of people that have got them say the same things. They sleep like a baby. They can't believe how well they sleep.
Wow.
So the Wi-Fi in your home, your smart meter, your internet, your neighbor's internet, it depends, there's a lot of factors involved, but basically the EMF garbage that we're getting exposed to is very real.
Hell yes.
And people that don't feel it immediately, like hot and cold, want to discount it like it's not there. But the truth is, the instructions on your cell phone tell you not to touch the damn thing.
Yep. I was over in New York when we had that massive blackout post 9/11, when that whole Northeast quadrant went out. I cannot begin to tell you how much my body instantaneously felt completely different once the grid went down. It was instantaneously different world. The whole grid went down. Boom! It was like my body was like, vroom, something's different. It was so tangible. And then the other thing with the Wi-Fi, folks, don't forget, you can actually just turn your router off at night. You literally you go into bed at night, go in there, put your thing on a surge protector, flip the switch, kill your Wi-Fi at night, sleep in peace. You can flip the switch on. You can wake back up in the morning and turn the internet on. Let the internet take a nap too.
I never think about doing that, but yeah.
Yeah, turn the router off.
I want one of those blankets too.
The blanket sounds like a great idea, Tony.
Yeah, it's definitely, I like things that work. So there's a lot of things that people will, in the community, that will sell you or lead you to be like, try this. After a couple of years, you'll get a difference. I am really impressed by things that work immediately. Other devices and, peripherals. And this was one of them. This was an experiment thing I tried, and it works. It does. It absolutely does work. I feel much better under it. So that's pretty scary to think about McDonald's commercials while you sleep and that whole technology. But it's also very hopeful. I think people in general underestimate what happens while you're sleeping, like the psychology behind. We all do communicate as we sleep. We secure permissions from each other for what we want to happen, and we manifest things that are going to happen as we sleep. Your subconscious mind knows that you want to get a new job or a new thing or a new tennis racket or whatever it is. Your subconscious mind knows what's on your mind, and it sets about making it happen. And that's why it feels like there are coincidences, but there's really no coincidences. Because our subconscious minds work together. We are essentially, points of one organism. We work as one organism in the outside of time space. And knowing that is why I'm ever an optimist as well. So you know how you said you're. I like you said the message like, hey, you guys are screwed. You're on the losing end here. I still am very optimistic that we still have the upper hand. We're just unaware of it. And
fair enough,
because they've been leading us by the leash. So people have their heads down and don't understand what's going on. They lead us through commercials and through your subconscious and your subliminal programming that we get. They've led us to, while we're sleeping, work in their favor. And that's why they want to lower the population, because they can't control everybody. I would like to believe that you're correct. I would love to support that as well. I just look forward to a time when I can see something that shows that that's going on. Because I feel like right now we're witnessing, we're losing our rights, we're losing this, we're losing that. So it's like, all right, I so want you to be right that somehow with what we're seeing we're winning. But I feel that I can't stop barking on a megaphone until I see some sort of activity from the majority of people that are negatively impacted.
because I don't feel that if the majority of people are being negatively impacted, I don't believe in what I call savior programming.
Right.
People are going to have to get off their butts to get out of this problem, and this is what the enemy knows. It's part of what they're doing. They're taking advantage of the energy. So like similarly to like what you guys are doing in a remote viewing group, and getting people to volunteer their energies to connect and go towards something. What this nefarious technology is doing is not really asking that permission, but causing connections anyhow and absconding that creative energy and taking it from people.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like I said, it's a big, sleight of hand to make people work alongside them in their favor for what people think they need and not really what they have. But like we're seeing signs, like I said, the kids nowadays are different. You can see these technologies that were classified in the 80s that are very effective that we're doing in our group, in the tier 3 group. We're seeing things that I mentioned them on stage in Orlando, and it was mostly an older crowd, and nobody... I said, wow, these kids are seeing these things on TikTok, how to manifest and how to go into focus states and heal themselves and do things. We're starting to see our kids are learning this.
Nice.
So, it was a very long time before I unlocked it and remembered what I got put through in a Black program. And so it was a very late in life for me, I'd like to say halfway through life for me before I got this information and started applying it. But kids are very young. The teenagers are getting this information and are getting led to it. And you look at some of these videos, some of these TikToks, there's 17, 20 million views. So kids are learning this stuff and it's going viral. They know about the gateway document. They know about these things.
Wow.
And so when you're participating in the deeds of the subconscious mind with your conscious mind prior to going to sleep, when you set an intention, say, tonight I'm going to sleep, but I want the intention of fixing this or that, it's very powerful. And it's even more powerful when a lot of people do it at once. And so this is the nature of mankind that we've been the whole time that, and it's always, if you go back in history, psychic phenomenon is very prevalent and very accepted. It wasn't until the 20th century that they started making fun of it. It wasn't until the TV era.
I feel like
they started making a giggle factor around it.
I feel like there's so much to be said for like that whole energy, and I think of the term congregation. Right, when we come together as a group. And I feel like a lot of what we've been taught about religion in antiquity is a scam. And it's a cover for our ability to congregate and apply intention together and get what we want. And that, what they talked about as cathedrals and religious temples and praying to gods has a lot less to do with that than it does with the practical application of intent in a device that was meant to amplify it. The old cathedrals, if we were to go into a cathedral and we were to sing correctly the right tones of intention together in that frequency amplifier, things happen. And I think that's what we've been separated from. Yeah, or the pyramid. All these things were frequency amplifiers to some capacity. And it's ancient tech that we're just we're a fallen species, so to say. We think that we're so advanced right now, but in reality, we're donkeys compared to what we used to be able to accomplish.
Well, what they did with religion was put you on a schedule that lets you maintain a goal. Your subconscious maintains a goal throughout a schedule throughout the year. So it kind of, you don't really go, you're going in a circle and not in a forward linear time. Linear, you're not thinking about advancing mankind. You're on, this is the Pentecost. This is, we're happy, we're thankful. And then here we're hopeful. And then here we're harvesting. And then here we're hopeful again. And here we're thankful. And so that's where your subconscious mind is tied up. It's a tread. They gave you a treadmill for your prayers.
Yeah. Slave work
for your intent. And and to be fair, I mean, right, I'm not anti-religious because they do a lot of healing, and a lot of people that are older that are suffering, like the healing intention. This probably in tier 3 are our target. Healing targets are the most common. So whenever we go, what are we going to do this week, guys? The healing targets come up for heal. There's always somebody that's suffering that we can. We've had, and by the way, we've had great results with immediate results with people that had medical conditions. And we did a group target meditation target on them, and they feel better almost immediately. One girl, well, whatever. I don't want to get myself
No
into
worries. Well,
a disclaimer.
I'll tell you what, Tony. There is no shame in my game. I feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle all the time, and if there's anything that your group can do to apply intention to my mission, I'll take it.
I'll get you the instruction PDF, the instruction manual. I'll get that to you. Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is that I went through it personally, and my life really kind of went off the rails there for a minute after 2017-ish. And I was just in a bad place, and I used the technique for myself, and I did it every day for a couple of weeks, and it worked, and I got results out of it. And I thought, man, if you can get more people to do this, then it's worth it. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Listening to this, I think that maybe we'll set an ET a contact again and try to follow up on the same exact target. Now, half a year later, or a little bit more than half a year later,
it'd be interesting.
Maybe we'll revisit that.
I'd be curious to find out who I'm representing, to be honest, because I mean, any intel for me is good. I absolutely feel from other, I call them healers, regressionists. Everybody's got different terms for their toolkit. I just respect that people work in things that I don't. But I've worked with folks, and it seems to be a common theme that they bring up with me that I'm with some group that's ancient, like extremely ancient, like freak, like they don't even, there's like almost like not words for what they call how old this stuff is. And they said this group, and I've heard other people talk about this stuff. And Tony, you've talked about this in depth, actually, that there's some sort of time police. Like there's all kinds of people running around doing all kinds of stuff, but then in reality, there's like these other overseers that are like, no, you guys are screwing around.
We are actually indigenous to outside of time space. So outside of time and space is another, I hate the word dimension, and I hate the word another universe, whatever you want to call it. The CIA and the Gateway called it the absolute infinity. There's infinity. So once you're out there, there are intelligences, there are beings that are very powerful, very adept at changing our time space from out there. And they're different beings, and they police the time travel and why don't you go back and what happens if you go back and kill grandpa and the dad's never born, whatever. That'll never happen because these guys police that. So these beings, I don't want to say, it's wrong to even say just guys, but these beings police, there's so much, there is time travel, there are temporal things that happen that are permissible, but the overall timeline, where it's headed, and because we are ultimately one organism of consciousness that resides outside of time space. So we're in here learning as like an incubator to learn and grow, mentally, and we live outside of it, and we go back to it. And there's a lot of, and I'm not just making this up. There's a lot of data. There's there's been a lot of research into this, and when you look at cross-reference it with ancient religious texts, everybody's saying the same thing, but in a different set of words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So before I forget, if it's possible, if you can remember that document that you're talking about from the CIA about the infinity aspect of this, I'd be very interested in seeing that. I've never seen that one before. That's very interesting to me.
I'll get that to you. I had it on my website for download, and then we revamped the website when the book came out. So, but it's a free document. It's out there. It's a PDF
totally understood. There's just a million of them. That's hard to find. It's hard to mine through that stuff, and that one matters to me in my research. So I'd be very intrigued to see that one.
It works, and like I said, it's gone viral. It's got a lot of traction amongst the kids. There's a lot of people that discover it and go, "Wait a minute, really?" And so when you read it, you go into it, and it's a well-established scientific community. And they said it got canceled the same way that they canceled the stealth helicopter that they found wreckage of in Bin Laden's compound. They canceled that years before. They said, no, we don't have any stealth helicopter. We were researching it, and then we canceled it. And then a few years later, they found the tail of one, and it was stealth helicopter. So it's the same thing with this technology. Yeah, they researched it for like 20 years. They put $25 million into it through the 70s and 80s. And then they all of a sudden canceled it right when they got it weaponized. Yeah, they said, when they were to the point where they were killing people with it.
They said the ELF system at the South Pole Station is not on. I found that to not be true. It's on.
Right, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
Officially, it's not officially on.
Right. Yeah, according to the rest of the world, it's off. But if you're doing maintenance at South Pole and you go to the breaker panel and you find out, the breaker's on, though. They're lying. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
So now, with these remote viewings and stuff like that, I mean, what have you guys been targeting since? I mean, this is, and also, we had stated earlier that the group was at 25 in June. Is this what you're talking, the tier 3?
Yeah. So okay. It comes and goes, every week, sometimes we get a dozen people, sometimes we get 20, 23 people. It's just, we meet on Tuesdays kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The remote view target is more of an exercise. Mm-hmm. So we don't remote view because we're a remote view group. We remote view because it's an exercise to get you better at the technique of manifesting, which is really what we're after.
I love it.
So it's kind of like like lifting barbells.
Yes.
Getting you to meditate and get into that frame of mind quickly.
That's one of the things I was communicating with some folks. Is a lot of people don't realize that the remote viewing is something that you can test. Like you said, you can practice it. And you can test, and you can check for accuracy. And I think it's actually it's unfortunate. There's a lot of people out there running around calling themselves remote viewers, but they never test their work. They run around and they say a lot of things, which is hopefully true. Sounds fantastic, but it's challenging for me to believe it when that person never goes through any effort to test the veracity of their own statements. And when it's so easy to do that, like you said, you can practice remote viewing. You can put something blind in an envelope and people are going to be accurate or not. And they can practice to get better. Mm-hmm. But it requires that intention, that effort, some sort of regimented method to test your work.
So some weeks I think that people just kind of don't take it seriously. You hit them on their off week, but we've had some absolutely impressive results. And what I found is we started with a bucket where I put a random object in the bucket, and I kind of want to move away from that. It has to be more random than that. Mm-hmm. But what happened was people were remote viewing and getting things that were right next to the bucket. Exactly. Like it's kind of freaky when somebody remote views and they're extremely accurate, and you look at it and go, how did they know that? Like we do get a lot of vague things, and we change it we kind of change a variable every week. So we're experimenting as well as learning it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when we do like tactile response, what does it feel like? What is it? The temperature, size? Mm-hmm. We'll just pick a random object out there somewhere in the world and go, put it in the envelope and number it the same way that it's kind of like a Farsight protocol.
Yep.
So we get mixed results, and some weeks, it's different. You get different people each week that do very good at it. Mm-hmm. So, but again, it's a exercise. It's an aerobic workout for your astral mind, your subconscious mind. It's not really what the purpose of the group is and what we do. So other targets that we do sometimes big ones like the hurricane to try to dissipate, so more people can live through the hurricane, less damage. We do things that help. We have a schedule like global target or an open night, and then we do member targets. It's really for the members to pick something in their life, and most of them do healing for a close relative. Like that seems to be popular, but it can be anything, like somebody looking for a house. I need a house. So we do a remote with that they find the house for their highest and best purpose in their life, so that their life goes to where it needs to be. And that's the target. We set that intention. We go in, and people, few months later, they get results. We see it happen. And it's a very powerful technique. It is how the subconscious mind works. It's how the universe works. And they use it. The CIA uses it. The Army's been using it. The military uses this. And the media uses it, and they're talking you into doing it for them. This is what the mass media, that's why all the weird stuff is. When you go, man, that's weird. Why are they always showing me that? That's what it is. And they do things, the mass media does things to make you not effective at it. That's why all the blood and guts and the gore in television does. It makes you feel helpless, and you go to sleep in a state of trauma and not in the state of intention. Mm-hmm. So you can see these things happening, and once you kind of free your mind from what's going on and kind of get caught, intention is everything. Your intention, you don't have to go use the peripherals and all the stuff. Before you go to sleep, just give yourself, clear your mind out, and set an intention on what you want in your life, and just think about it for a while, as long as you can, and just go to sleep. And over time, you will manifest that and believe it as if it's already happened. And that's a nutshell. That works along, but there's a lot of other things in the protocol that we have at Tier 3 that really kind of help it speed it along. But just concentrate on the same thing. That's all it takes to change your entire life. If you're really serious about it, you can do something like that.
Yeah, these techniques are highly effective, and you're right. I think we really need to start inculcating this in society more. I love hearing that teens are using it. It makes me think of a day in the future. The alphabet agencies were working with children because they're also adept at it. I mean, this is the way the world should be, is that we should be teaching children from day one that we have these skill sets, and this is how reality functions, and then we could all be accomplishing more every single day. Part of me right now is so curious because you're doing the same technique that the other remote viewing team did when they targeted Havana syndrome and came up with South Pole. You could still randomize your group right now, even with this conversation being out there, because they did the same thing. You throw a number on an envelope and you have a question in the envelope. What's the source of Havana syndrome? You could still totally randomly do this with your group and see if you guys get the same results as the other team. This could be really interesting.
See this.
What's that? What's that?
Maybe I'll bring that up tomorrow night. Give it a shot tomorrow.
Because you can still fire it off as a number. If you number the envelope, they don't know what the question is. And if the question is simply, what is the source of Havana syndrome? It doesn't even matter if they saw this video. They don't know what's in the envelope. You can do it on any given night. They won't know.
Yeah. So I'm off the record. I may or may not try that.
Oh, you don't have to, Tony. Don't feel any pressure at all. I'm just throwing it out there as a curiosity because I can't help my brain from going there. That's all. Do with it whatever you want. So,
yeah.
I guess we kind of ran the gamut on the topic, I gather. Remote viewing is a very powerful tool that everybody should probably get more involved with learning. I believe, as always, Tony and I are beating the drum on Stalking the Wild Pendulum for being a fantastic book that is so worthy of reading and will open all of your brain cells to a new dynamic of function. I mean, every time I pick up that book and open it up, it's just like, damn, this guy was ahead of his time. And there's actually a lot of videos where Bentov is talking on the topic. So I know a lot of people have issues reading nowadays, but if you just go to YouTube and you look up Itzhak Bentov, you'll find a lot of conversations that he's had that are amazing. He's a profound intellect, and he's able to take very complex terms and put them in a lay capacity for folks. Because not for nothing, Stalking the Wild Pendulum is not a complex book. It's a very easy read.
You can read it, but there's a lot of profound things to think about when he gets into the hologram.
For sure.
The science.
The thoughts are complex. The book is not.
Right.
He's not writing this thing in a complex way. The ideas are new and complex, but to turn the pages and digest the book, it's a simple read.
Yes. And it's the science behind the technique. So it's important to know the rules of the game that you're playing. Mm-hmm. So that book is the science of how it works. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to know that, because I think a lot of people, and then the gateway document, I just shared it with you in the chat, Eric. I don't know if you want to put it up for people, but the gateway document tells it was a briefing from the people that were in the program to the Army of what they were able to get done. And just like in a nutshell, it was like a debrief. And it shows what they were working with and some of the techniques. And it's really amazing stuff that they were doing. Like I said, they started out healing people, and they quickly weaponized it. And they got to the point where they were inducing heart attacks remotely on people. So they were assassinating people. And then the whole thing got canceled. And, in a more accurate term, the whole thing got classified. And so, because it had been going on for 20 years, the experiment went on for 20 years. So they left off there, and who knows what they're up to nowadays. But I guarantee that this technique is alive and well in the U.S. military and probably beyond.
Yep. And I just want to add that I'm going to suggest to folks that what's going on is it's no longer an individual level attack locally. The technology has advanced to it's now stationed at the South Pole Station and working against all of you constantly. I mean, that's what they learned, and now they're doing it. There's all kinds of shenanigans and all kinds of tech that we need to appreciate that this stuff exists and is active. You know, there's the modern battlefield is the mind. And if you can't see the weapons of war and the attack right now, then you're losing.
Yep.
But guys, I guess thank you very much for your time today. We're hitting close to that hour mark, and Tony, I know this is a bit challenging to get you on air, so thank you so much for getting this dialed in. I do appreciate it. Thank you to Tony's audience out there for tolerating me and my brashness as usual. Thank you to Natalie for reaching out to me and letting me know that this connection occurred, because these are the things that matter. This is, we are all different. We all have different days, and we have different perspectives on things, and we certainly don't see eye to eye on everything. But when we do make connections, it's very important that we get through all of the things that do make us special and different, to remember that we are all connected. We are all on the same page, and hopefully we're all working for the betterment of humanity is basically the way that I look at it. I was very happy when Natalie reached out, because it's nice to know that people appreciate your efforts. So thanks, Natalie.
Well, thank you. I so enjoy your show, and you're just cool, and you have good information, and you don't back down.
Thanks.
And you say it how it is, and that's how it should be. And I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well,
very much so.
If anybody wants to follow what I'm doing out there, please go over to deciphering.tv. In the archive section, as always, I have the documentation to back up what's going on at the South Pole Station with the crazy technologies and all that fun stuff. And by all means, please don't hesitate to drop me an email there and stay connected, so that we don't have to worry about all the censorship platforms, and we can just stay directly connected. And certainly go over to Tony and check out his stuff at your Patreon, correct, Tony?
Well, you can get everything off TonyRodrigues.com.
There you go.
So, yeah, my Patreon is there, and you can link to the book, and everything is there.
You got it, TonyRodrigues.com then. And awesome, folks. Thank you very much for the conversation today, and I always look forward to chatting again. Have a good one all.
See you guys later.
All right. Bye.